You are Locked On Heat Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And every day will not look like today, thank God. What is up, Heat fan? Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries, G-R-I-E-S, at Jim Gries _, on social media. Give me a follow, make you holla. And you be hollering tonight watching that game. I'll tell you what, as the Miami Heat scored 9, count them, 9. We can actually count them. You know what I mean? The number of points to score in a quarter for an NBA team. If you can count them on two hands, you are in big, big trouble. 9 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 points in the fourth quarter for Miami. They had a 9-0 run put on them by the Brooklyn Nets. They had an 11-0 run put on them by the Brooklyn Nets. They had a 25-5 run put on them by the Brooklyn Nets. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? I'll tell you exactly where Brooklyn's at tonight. And, you know, the Nets, they didn't trade Cam Johnson. Duncan Robinson did a podcast with him yesterday. How about that? These guys, they're playing each other the next night, and they're doing a podcast together. Can you imagine Jordan doing anything like that? It's just a different world. Oh, it's a different world than where we came from. But 31 points in the fourth quarter for the Nets and only 9 for Miami. There's your game right there. They got waxed on the boards, and they usually lose on the boards, but they got waxed on the boards. And, you know, they're not getting any bigger with Andrew Wiggins coming in to replace Jimmy Butler. And we'll talk about Wiggins a little bit later in the show, right after we do the final score graphic, the turning point, and the stars of the game, as you guys love so much. But 31-9, the Nets really are a good defensive team, though. They pound the glass. They had 13 blocked shots against Miami tonight. Now, Tyler was the victim of a bunch of those. Poor Tyler Hero had a bad night. He had a bad night. But the final score ended up being 102-86. The Nets, with the W, 2-2 on the road trip for Miami, they fall to 25-25 as they just can't get over that hump. Again, we talked about it the other night. Never been more than 3 games over 500 or 2 games below all season long, and that's just kind of where they've been hovering. But the reinforcements are coming in. The new guys didn't play tonight. We'll get to that momentarily. Of course, Wiggins is the big one, and Jimmy Butler gone. Can you believe the talk was straight up Jimmy Butler for Kevin Durant? That would have been a nice trade. That would have been a fair deal. That would have been about even. Yes, I said it because Kevin Durant isn't Kevin Durant anymore like he was either, you know, and Jimmy Butler for sure. And they're talking about 2 guys who are over 35. I think KD's 35, might be 34 still. But either way, you know, Jimmy B bringing back KD, that would have been interesting to see Kevin Durant in Miami with this team around him, with Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and the development of Kel'el Ware and Jaquez and Nicola and everybody else. And Rozier playing like Terry Rozier again. Look, all he needed to do was be under investigation for throwing a game. I mean, literally, and I say it like so flippantly and like such a jackass, and I apologize to everyone that offended, especially Terry, but I mean, that's what I do. I'm a sports guy. We have fun. He's under federal investigation for throwing a game. He is. And ever since that investigation was announced, he's been playing the best ball that he's been playing in a Heat uniform. Remember, this is a guy who was averaging 24 a game when they brought him in. All right. And it was toward the end of the season before. And he didn't play in those playoffs. So he was playing really well down the stretch. And then they go and didn't play in the playoffs last year. You know what I'm saying? After they brought him in. All right. Today's episode of Heat Postcast is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, Auto usted? What time is it? Game time. Also, one more piece of business for you. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. How about them apples? Not the apples. I wonder why they came up with that phrase. And what did they used to do to poor cats? Let the cat out of the bag. More than one way to skin a cat. What do they do to these poor cats? And why do we say, how about them apples? Someone Google it. Let me know in the chat, please. Also, while you're at it, subscribe and hit the bell so you know we're coming at you with more content. But LockedOnDaily.com for the Locked On Heat newsletter. One stop for ultimate Heat and NBA coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter. Boy, you know, this is Marketing 101 all right there in the promo. Great job by our promo and our production team at the Locked On Podcast Network. I mean, the key words, the buzzwords of marketing, and I forget what they are now. That's a great marketer I am, but I know that free is one of them, and I know that all new is one of them. So all new and free are 2 of the top 5 buzz phrases in marketing, meaning like the ones that register the most up here for consumers. So you just got served. How about that? You look at it that way by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we love serving you in a different way. Obviously, we love serving our fans and people who love the teams that we cover day in and day out. And I think the Miami Heat are going to be okay. Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell are coming in. You know what I mean? And Mitchell's a great on-ball defender as the number 3 guard or 4 guard probably in the rotation with Rozier and Tyler. And look, the Suns wanted more from Miami draft picks-wise with Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler. It's why that deal didn't happen. Plus, KD and Steph Curry talked, and KD was like, no, bro, it's not the time for us to play together again and chase rings. That's not what he said. That's what I imagine he said, knowing Kevin Durant the way I do. And I always love to diss Kevin Durant, which is absolutely stupid and idiotic of me because he's a top 10 player, probably of all time, maybe top 20, but he's a ring chaser, and he never would have had a ring if he didn't chase the ring. So he's always going to get that extra bitterness from guys like Barkley because those guys didn't chase rings. But, oh, wait, Barkley went to Phoenix and Houston. Yeah, Charles. Yeah, I was going to say it again. How about them apples? I almost said it again. But, man, just a tough one for Miami tonight, 102-86. And it was all about the fourth quarter. You know, the depth wasn't there. This happened a couple games ago, too, in the fourth quarter where they just completely ran out of gas. What game was that? It literally was the Bulls game. They were waxing the Bulls, too. And it's happening against teams that aren't any good. You know, this is not a good team, the Nets, and the Bulls, not a good team. NBA team-wise, they're just not good teams, right? And so to have this happen twice in 4 games, and this is something that, you know, the depth will really help. The depth will help with Mitchell, with Anderson, and then with Wiggins. And Wiggins is great. He's more athletic than Jimmy Butler. I think he's a better shooter than Jimmy. He's going to get you the rebounds. He's a good passer. He doesn't have that dog in him like Jimmy does, though. If you're expecting, Jimmy Butler is the ultimate dog. And when I say dog, I don't mean dog as in like he's a dog. You know, I mean like a dog, like a junkyard dog, like slap your hand on the floor when the other team's coming down and you're on defense kind of a dog, like let's go, bitch, that kind of a dog. That's the kind of a dog that Jimmy is. And when the pressure situation is there, when the tensions mount, when the game's on the line, the higher the stakes, the higher the buzz, the energy, the feel, the higher the stakes, the more at stake, right? The better Jimmy got, the better Jimmy gets. And we don't know right now. I mean, he's missed a lot of games the last few years, and it's a big loss for Miami without a doubt. And we're not even really talking about this game tonight because the team's going to look so much different when you have Tyler and Rozier. You know what I mean? And you're going to have Mitchell as that on-ball defender, one of the top 5 guards in the league as an on-ball defender. And that's really going to be a big thing for this Miami Heat team. To have an on-ball defender like him, they haven't had that in God knows how long. I mean, and you think of the guys they've lost around the perimeter of this team, the circumference of the stars of this team the last couple of years, when you're thinking about Vincent and Strus and guys like that, you know, they haven't been replaced so easily. And the new group of quote-unquote Heat culture guys comes in, and now you got Nikola, and I love him, man. He's going to be a great player. Maybe not great, but very good for sure. Jaquez is going to be a serviceable role player for a long time. Come in and take that ball to the hoop, start drawing fouls, playing aggressively, grabbing rebounds. Really good passer, Jaquez Jr. So when I look at this Heat team with these new additions, and I see Wiggins just being able to play every front court position for this team except center. He could also, you know, really help out defensively against some athletic wings, but he can also go play forwards in the post. Like I said, he's a pretty good passer. The thing about Wiggins that you're going to notice, if he's a Heat guy in waiting. He's a guy who doesn't necessarily give you those consistent efforts night in and night out. Steve Kerr, and I don't want to make it seem like Steve Kerr is a country club coach. You know what I mean? Like, oh, your tennis lessons at 10. Shall we fluff the pillows? You know, but certainly the Heat with a very different culture than the GS Dubs. You know what I mean? A very different culture in Miami. And I think that will really bode well for Wiggins to give that same type of effort night in and night out. And look, sometimes in life we give less effort without day in and day out, without being the same as the day before. We'll give less effort and we'll not even realize it. Sometimes it takes tremendous focus to keep yourself consistent with your effort. And Wiggins has had that as a knock throughout his career. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he fits with his team, playing on that floor with Bam and Khalil Ware, giving him that athletic wing like a Jimmy Butler, but I think more athletic with Wiggins and a better shooter. He's 36 to 39% every year from 3. So I love that he's going to average 18, 20 a game, I think, with this team. Probably about 18 and 8, I want to say, you know, something like that for Wiggins rebounds. But I really think he's going to be a great addition for this team. at that forward spot. And I love Anderson off the bench too. I think that with Ware developing the way he has and Jaquez and the combination of those two orbiting around Bam, and then you have Tyler and Rozier starting to play really well. Look, they didn't make a deal in that backcourt. And Tyler Hero's an all-star. Hey, now, you're a rock star. You know what I mean? But is he really – I mean, look, he was, 6 for 20-something tonight. Like, when he becomes the focal point of opposing defenses, Tyler's not that guy. He's not going to score over 2 consistently. He's not going to beat those double teams. Like, now he's going to have to become a much better passer. But do you know how much pressure Wiggins is going to take off Tyler Hero? Do you know how much pressure that's going to take off him? Now Duncan Robinson too, not having to have pressure of defense. Like I think that's really going to help Duncan shoot better too. So there's a lot here to unpack. And by the way, check out Locked On Heat, the podcast. They do a great job of unpacking it every single day. And you got the newsletter as well, LockedOnDaily.com, Heat and NBA news with your Locked On Heat newsletter. This, of course, is the Postcast. I am Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. Never fear. Grease is here, 102.86, and never fear, the new guys are here. Coming in on Monday, expected to play against, how about this for a debut? The Boston Celtics. Nothing to see here. How about that idiot? I forget who it was. And I shouldn't say that the person's an idiot. How about the idiotic idea? And I can't even say idiotic, so that person, if they're watching, you can't even speak. But idiotic idea to trade Devin Booker for Jaylen Brown straight up. I don't know who in the world gave that dude his crack pipe. I mean, it's like unbelievable when you think about that. But there's no way the Suns would ever do that. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. This is your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. It's Friday night. The Heat have the weekend off. They play the Boston Celtics on Monday when the new guys, Davion Mitchell, Kyle Anderson, and Andrew Wiggins will make their debut. No idea when Jimmy's going to make his debut in Golden State. Can you imagine Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green? Can you imagine those two? I mean, the locker room dynamic, if they don't get along, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man. I'm all in. I want a front row seat. Like T.O. said all those years ago, get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready, and you get ready. Next segment, we dive into the box score. We dive into the team stats and more. This is your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. That's right, I said it. Your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease, coming back. Un momento, por favor, after these words from the great folks at Robinhood, because it ain't all good, except it is. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment. You can, that's right, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. That's right. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. It's over 8 times the national savings average, by the way. Perks of the high net worth now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk, as we know. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year. From first match, must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate. Claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. There you have it. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease, GRIES, at Jim Grease, _ 102-86. The Miami Heat fall to the Brooklyn Nets tonight. How about Bam with the pink kicks? Looking dope tonight, those kicks with the Vice City unis, the hot pink and the blue. They're dope. But, man, that was not a good ending to this trip for Miami. The 2 losses were to 2 terrible teams. I mean, the Bulls and the you beat the Spurs. It was a good one, but man, you lose to the Nets and you lose to the Bulls. You beat the 76ers and you beat the Spurs. Okay, I mean, no Embiid for Philly and no Wemby, by the way, for San Antonio. Did not get to see Wemby. How disappointing was that? You got the champs in here. The Boston Celtics coming in on Monday. Come Monday. Then you got the Thunder. How about that? You know, the Cavs have the best record in the East, but the Celtics are the champs. And then the Thunder come in. After that, you go to the Thunder, rather. You go to OKC. So how about this for Miami? With the new guys, with Wiggins, with Mitchell, with Anderson, You go home for Boston, road OKC and SGA having an MVP type year on Wednesday, and then Thursday on the second of a back-to-back on the road. Who do you have? Anthony Davis and the Dallas Mavericks, all right? The NBA finalists, the Western Conference champions a year ago, just traded a generational superstar in Luka Doncic. And Anthony Davis, the centerpiece of that trade, best rim protector in the league, going to play the 4 with those 2 centers. And I know Gafford's out for the year, but this isn't a Mavericks show. And then after that, they go to the Raptors, to the Bucks, to the Hawks, back home for the Hawks. And so no rest for the weary for Miami, but they do get the reinforcements, and they're going to have to integrate those guys quickly. Wiggins and Mitchell and Anderson, and there's no coach in the league better than Spo when it comes to these things, and there's nobody who's less proud or has less ego than Spo to go right down that hall or up the stairs or wherever he needs to go to the Godfather's office and go talk to Pat Riley, who, by the way, is such a G. Pat Riley's a G. He's a Don. He's the real Godfather. Never mind Marlon Brando's fat ass. Pat Riley's the real Don, okay? I told you, death, taxes, Pat Riley. That's what I'm starting to believe in life. You got 3 certainties, death, taxes, Pat Riley. And he stays cool. And how cool is Riley? This cool. The dude has a personally curated wine cellar, his own collection of wine, okay? Wines, his own collection of wines. Could I butcher this any worse? His own collection of fine wines, okay? At the office in his own personal wine cellar. I repeat, at the office, okay? So whenever you think you're a G, remember that, all right? Just remember that. Death, taxes, Pat Riley. And I think this Wiggins deal, long-term, when we look back on this Wiggins deal for a disgruntled Jimmy Butler, you're not getting 2020 Jimmy Butler. Okay? You're not even getting the Jimmy from the postseason a couple of years ago that played so great and got you into the finals from the play-in. You're not getting that dude. He's missed so many games the last 2 years. He's had knee injuries. He's had illnesses. He's had flare-ups again. You know what I mean? He's walked out of a practice. He's not the same dude. He might go to Golden State and catch some lightning in a bottle. He might. That might reinvigorate Draymond a little bit too. Wiggins did so much for that team. They're effed. Golden State's in big trouble. They'll be trading Steph Curry before you know it. I mean, this is ridiculous. And then Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. Your hopes of clinging to the faded, I think we can say faded at this point, dynasty. Your hopes of clinging to that, I mean, they're that slim and things are that desperate in Golden State now that you're going with a Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green pairing and just going, you're literally crossing your fingers because Steve Kerr is a very well-respected coach. No doubt about it. He's a champion as a player, as an assistant, as a head guy, U.S. Olympic team, gold medal winning coach. He's got Steph Curry bought in 100%, Draymond, all those guys, they police themselves, yada, yada, yada. But, and it's a big but, a very big but. First sign of any trouble, what's Draymond Green going to do? We already know. First sign of any trouble, what's Jimmy Butler going to do? Minnesota, you remember what he did there. What's going to happen there? And Kevin Durant, as bad as things are in Phoenix with Bradley Beal and his no trade clause, good Lord, they tried to make that. The Suns tried desperately to get the Heat to take Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler, okay? Didn't work. Did not work and never was going to work. And Bradley Beal's, he's one of those dudes. His usage rate is so high in Washington, and that's why he's able to command that superstar. And I never thought of him as a superstar, and I'm not, just dissing him. But for Jimmy Butler to have that high opinion of himself and for people like you and me to think that the same Jimmy Butler is going to Golden State and that the Heat really lost something huge here by losing Jimmy Butler. Look, Wiggins is still in his prime. He's playing really well this year. He's a good three-point shooter. He's a versatile defender. He can score 20. He can score 30. He can get hot in a playoff game and carry you. He can. It won't happen very often. It won't be consistent. But how do you know when he's coming in here what he's going to do? Because Spo is great at getting the most out of guys who have been a little wishy-washy with the effort up and down. Little yo-yo game. You know what I mean? Get the yo-yo up and down with the energy. 30 points, 10 points, 25 points, and 8 boards. 4 for 14 the next night. That's going to happen fewer and further between with Coach Spo than it did anywhere else because he's great at masterminding and manipulating guys like that. See, like motivating. It's manipulating is really what it is. So there you have it. All right, it's your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. We got the box. We got the team stats. We got the stars of the game. We got the turning point. We got the final score. And we will get you ready-ish for the Celtics game on Monday with the New Jacks coming in Anderson and Mitchell and Andrew Wiggins. It's your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. Wrapping it up in just a moment after I tell you about our friends at Gametime. Looking for tickets? Are you? I like that. To your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, I'll speak like Yoda. Finding the right ticket at the right price. Headache can be. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. That's so 2005. I've been using Gametime Picks for a while now, and look, for an old head like me, I got called an old head again last night. It's funny when I get called an old head, but I've been using Gametime Picks for a while. I'm a kid in a candy store because I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options and just wasting your time. I recently grabbed the super deal in quotes for a prime seat. Couldn't believe the value. It was a steal. The seat view feature, game changer. You're just right there in your phone or wherever you're looking at it. You're just, oh man, you're just seeing that whole panoramic view from the seat right there. Before you hit buy, you see exactly what everything's going to look like from that seat in the venue. So reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you can find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. So, what you gonna do, brother? You're gonna take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime is what you're gonna do. You're gonna download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. What time is it? Okay, order. Gametime. On the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. 102 to 86. But you know what? That's why this might be the show this season of all the shows we do, 82 of them, maybe 80 of them by the time we're all said and done. Of all the shows we do, have done, or will do, any other ways I can butcher the English language tonight, please, all my past professors and teachers, and they're probably on my Facebook, they're all going to kill me. Anyway, long story long. Now I lost my train of thought. See what happens when you start being an old head. But when you look at what the Heat just did, they went 2-2 on the road trip. They beat San Antonio. They beat Philadelphia. They lose to the awful Bulls. They lose to the awful Nets tonight. They fell apart in both those losses in the fourth quarter. That's what it came down to. In the two wins, they were, you know what I mean? Look, the San Antonio game, when they played the Spurs, it was a 105-103 win, and then they beat the Sixers 108-101. So when you're holding teams in that range of points, if you're Miami, you're winning those games. Now, when you're up in the 130s, 120s, you're losing most of those games as Miami. That's not Heat basketball. But this was a rarity tonight in that they held the team right around that 100 number and got smoked. But that was because they scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. That was because they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was because Tyler had a bad night shooting all the way across the board. And it was because they wore down. I mean, the reinforcements, they're playing 3 guys short right now. And thank God, and I feel bad saying this, but hey, look, it's a cruel world and you're making a lot of money and it is what it is. But I've seen enough of Haywood Highsmith, man. Goodbye, bro. Like, this guy can't hit anything. I mean, I appreciate his effort. I like his defense. He'll probably still see some run here and there as a defensive guy, but just unable to hit the 3. And that was a big prereq for him in that position. And, obviously a thankless job starting. And then they had, with a straight face, told him, Jimmy Butler, that Highsmith was starting over him, which is why Jimmy walked out of practice that last time. Anyway, so it all comes full circle. But Terry Rozier, 20 points off the bench tonight. Good job for Miami. And, I mean, they don't have a closer without Jimmy. And Tyler's not the closer. Jimmy's probably laughing about that now. Wiggins, a better closer than Jimmy Butler? I don't think so. Definitely not mindset-wise. But I think in that new role on a team like this, remember, he's been on Golden State with Steph and with Clay, and, he's not getting the big shots. He was a third option. And even now in Golden State, not a huge option offensively, but he can hit the 3 in Miami's offense with his mid-range game that Golden State doesn't do a lot of. I think there's a lot of stuff there that he could do that will really help, And Tyler Hero, with all the pressure on him, 6 for 22 tonight. And you think about this too. They got out-rebounded 57-39. They got smoked in the fourth quarter. But overall, You're thinking like the inconsistency from Bam Adebayo offensively. He comes out with 6 quick points and they're up 13-5. And then it's like, Bam Adebayo, is there a Bam sighting? He had 18 in the game. All right, let's hit the box real quick. And then we will give you all the final score, the turning point, the stars of the game. And then we'll get on up. First, for the Brooklyn Nets, they had 5 players in double figures, led by Cam Johnson, who I can't believe didn't get traded. A lot of teams wanted Cam. 18 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists for Cam. And then you had 17 from D'Angelo Russell, 12 off the bench for Watford, 12 for Claxton, who also had 10 rebounds and 3 blocks. And, dude, they had 13 block shots tonight, the Nets. They're really good on defense, a lot of energy and hustle, and they got that team playing pretty hardcore out there. Johnson, by the way, had 11. Keon, you're talking about a vicious dunk in the game tonight. How about Miami, the starting lineup? Duncan Robinson, 4 for 11, 2 for 6 from 3, had 10 points. Haywood Highsmith, those are supposed to be crickets. No points for Highsmith. Bam Adebayo, 18 points, 8 rebounds for Bam. 10 points, 14 rebounds for Khalil Ware. He had 13 rebounds last game, 14 tonight. Dare I say he's becoming a force on the glass, and that's in 26 minutes, BT Dubs. 26 minutes, 14 boards for Khalil, and he had some blocks in there as well. And then Tyler Hero, 6 for 22, 2 for 11 from 3, 15 points for Tyler tonight. Not a good one for him. And how about the star of the show for Miami off the bench, Terry Rozier, 20 points. Jovic had 8, 5 for Jaquez. Larson in 11 minutes didn't score. So there you have it. That's the box score. Let's look at the team stats real quick. Miami shooting 32 of 90. Yeah. 39 of 93 for Brooklyn. I almost said New Jersey. 35% from the floor for the Heat. 30% from 3. They went 12 of 40. Free throws, the Nets 14 of 18. Miami 10 of 12. They didn't get to the line like they like to, as many times at least, and that was a big factor. The rebounding, 57 to 39 for the Nets. Now, understanding that the Heat are going to get worked on the glass most nights, that's still a huge disparity. Way too big, especially on a night when Khalil Ware has 14 boards. And again, I ask, Bam, Bam, Bam. Just checking. All right. Anyway, assist 23-17 for Miami there, and the blocks 13 for the Nets, a huge number, 13-5. And what an asset that is to have, a luxury, really, more than anything, to have shot blocking like that when those penetrators, you could play, you can gamble more, go for steals more on defense when you don't have the rim protector back there, which is what Dallas now has with Anthony Davis, even more than the ones they have. And by the way, they have great athletes all the way across that roster in Dallas. It's going to be fun to watch them play. It wasn't just Luka. So points in the paint, 52 to 34. New Jersey, the big edge there. And, Miami came into this game a 5.5 point favorite. The total was 209.5. And obviously they did not hit that. They came in at 188. So 102 to 86, the final score. And let's see, where are we at here? There we are. All right, so we got a couple of things to do before we get on out. Want to remind you to check out Locked On Heat, the podcast, day in and day out. Those dudes do a great job. They did a fantastic job keeping you up to date with the Jimmy Butler stuff all the way through, and had some awesome shows with scenarios and really worked hard on those. So good job by the Heat guys. They have the newsletter too, Locked On Heat newsletter, which you'll see at lockedondaily.com, and you won't want to miss that. Of course, Locked On NBA as well. And we're here after the game every time with a postcast. You want to be right here after the game with the Locked On Heat postcast, right? Your team every day. You want to be in wherever you get your podcast as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it. We're there, and that's with the audio version. Of course, the video version right here with the handsome face on YouTube. So if you've never seen the handsome face, you can check us out on YouTube as well. Locked On Sports Miami. All right, before we get on up, get on out. Before I do that, we got some business to take care of. How about the final score? 102 to 86. Get that shot out of here. 13 blocks. Really, the hiccups are going to come back now? At least they waited till the end of the show. 102 to 86. The Brooklyn Nets with the victory. You see Rozier getting rejected at the rim. 13 blocks for New Jersey tonight. And then we have here the turning point. These are the moments. Big hiccup. Ooh. All right. Outscored the Heat 31-0 in the fourth quarter. And the hiccups come back. There's D'Lo, who didn't do a whole heck of a lot of that with the Lakers. Star of the game, number one, Nets defense. Look at it. Get that shot out of here. Claxton again. Duncan Robinson with the lefty layup. Nope. Probably should have passed it to Kalel, who's right there. I'm going to have to end the show with the hiccups here, guys. Apologize. They came on at the end of the show. And how about the Heat's best player on the floor tonight? Killer K. Khalil Ware had 10 and 14. Excuse me, I almost said 14 and 10. He had 10 points and 14 rebounds. But Terry Rozier, another 20-point game, back-to-back like he's Drake 5 years ago. So, yeah, Terry Rozier with another 20-point game. And if Terry can continue to score, all right, and Tyler an all-star, right, if he can play with Wiggins and recapture some of the way that he was playing with Jimmy Butler out there, think about the on-ball defense and what that's going to be like now, right? With Mitchell, Anderson, very high IQ player, good passer. You're going to see some, and Wiggins, you're going to see I still think they're as good as they were with Jimmy. I don't think they're a team that could make the finals as constructed with this group, but maybe next year. And I'm not kidding. With guys like Ware and Jovic and Jaquez getting better and better, Wiggins and these other guys fitting in, and oh man, it's going to be interesting to see. All right, but I am going to have to get on out of here. That's all there is. Excuse me. There is no more. Your Heat postcast on your Friday, 102-86. They fall at Brooklyn to finish the road trip 2-2. Back at 500, they have the Celtics coming into town on Monday. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White and Drew Holiday, the Olympians, and of course, man, what a team! What a team when Porzingis is healthy, and you know that's a big thing for him to be back. And Cleveland is number one in the East, but they're not going to be. Milwaukee, with the move they made, Chris Middleton gets traded, and that is really interesting for Kyle Kuzma. D'Lo and Kuzma. Shout out to the former LeBron Lakers teammates who, and Kuzma goes to Washington, gets the run along with Jordan Poole. Excuse me. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to wrap it up. 102-86. The Nets beat the Heat tonight. Excuse me. Monday after the game, we'll be back with your postcast after the Celtics game. Please hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you know when we're coming your way with more content. And yeah, come on in and say hi in the chat. Jim Gries, GRIES, at Jim Gries _ on social media. Again, 102-86, the final. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Miami. Good night.